Hey, give thanks for life. Give thanks for life. Oh, chimney, chimney. Today my rise like the sunrise, my bright and my upright. No one can.
You know, something
well,
like that.
Welcome again to Strong and Healthy, and I have the privilege of having with me my Wesley High School compatriot, for want of a better word, Miss Yvonne Alexander, a distinguished lady with a lot to share today. You're going to want to listen very closely. Yvonne, welcome to Strong and Healthy.
Thank you very much
and
for inviting me, Sam.
Woman.
I think I am, and for me, it's not necessarily about the biceps and triceps. It's about the core, the abdominals.
Okay.
Yes. So if you have very strong abdominals, it keeps the rest of you really very strong and upright. And I think it goes with the territory, the posture from law enforcement background and all of that. So there was always a lot of emphasis on being strong physically in your abdomen. So that's why I never developed a stomach even after 4 births.
Be careful what you talk about here.
Yeah.
So we're talking about ex-assistant commissioner of police in Barbados. You talk about your role, your career here. I was going to jump to start with our school, but I see your pictures here. Tell us about your service. That was very
interesting. I enlisted in the police force, you can say probably almost straight out of high school. About a year from graduating from high school before actually still trying to determine what career choices. At the time, career choices were if you graduated high school, I mean in the 70s when you graduated high school, you were an automatic choice for either being a teacher, a nurse, a public officer, you know, so these were the career choices. And then the police force were on a recruitment drive. And at the time, it appears that so many people thought, since you had a particular type of height and so on, you could be an automatic choice. So some of my friends told me, you know, the police force is recruiting, why don't we go? And I told them, sure, let's go. And we were automatically selected, shortlisted, interviewed. And before I knew it, I was on my way to Barbados, first trip overseas, to be trained at the regional security system, at the regional police training school at the time, because we were not doing our own local training. Trained for 6 months and then returned. And you will understand that in the mid-70s, there were very many, it's still a male-dominated work environment, and there were still very many men within the ranks that felt policing was not a place for women. And so I think that made me very determined to defy the odds.
And defy the odds you did. One of the pictures showed you shaking hands with a gentleman, and that gentleman is a top guy from the United States. Yes,
he was the former Attorney General from the United States, Mr. Holder, who actually has I think he's Barbadian by birth. Yes, and I met him at an international conference. I had the real pleasure of attending, and it had to do with the position that I held at the regional security system as director of training, so that I had the opportunity to travel to some of these international conferences, connect with individuals who could assist regional security, which is what the focus of that particular organization is. And so it was wonderful to meet Mr. Holder and actually have a conversation with him. You know, it was interesting, yes.
So you went there as a recruit and then you came back as a...
No. I went to Barbados, I got trained as a recruit, came back into Dominica and served in the Dominica Police Force.
Right, and you came back
served
to
in
Barbados.
the Dominica, so I only worked in Barbados again on 2 occasions with the regional security system, 2003 to 2005, at the time as their staff officer, law enforcement and intelligence, and in 2013 until end of 2015 as the director of training.
And your rank in Dominica and your rank in Barbados?
Yes, so I made it up to the rank of superintendent in Dominica, And as the Director of Training at the Regional Security System, I held the rank of Assistant Commissioner of Police. Very interesting. And that felt really that was really very good for me, and also for the fact that policing has evolved in Dominica to the point where we got, and I would be the first female officer who made it to the top rank, and that we got to the position where women were accepted in law enforcement, that that I was able to show that it didn't matter what gender you were or what sex you were, that you could make a contribution if you were determined to work harder. I obviously didn't just sit on the laurels of having graduated Wesley High School. I continued to develop myself, which is something that I always encourage people to do, continuous learning. I think is it Gandhi who says you should learn as if you will never die, something like that. So it's a journey of ongoing learning, so that I made myself academically qualified, and at the same time developed the experience, knowledge of the job, and did the best I could wherever I operated within the police force.
And you certainly did the
Yes.
very best that I know of, because I remember when, on coming back to Dominica, I heard so much about Yvonne Alexander, and what a fantastic job that you have done. You're fantastic. You mentioned the word intelligence. It's a different kind of intelligence.
Yes,
That means
yes,
what?
yes.
What does intelligence mean?
Intelligence in that case was really about gathering information and determining what the state of security of the region really was, based on what was happening in the various countries that the regional security system represented, or were members of the regional security system.
And we're going to go back to Wesley High School in a little bit, because that's where your other kind of intelligence was nurtured.
Yes, yes.
But we had an experience with the regional security system. The average citizen may not fully appreciate it on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
We see people in traffic on a day-to-day
Yes.
basis, and we see CID on a day-to-day basis. Well, hopefully not on a day-to-day basis, but we see them operating.
Right.
But then, or immigration or what have you. But regional security, we saw a lot of that after Maria.
After Maria. And that is one of the roles and responsibilities of the regional security system. It's called Regional Security System. Short term for it is RSS. So many people are familiar with the slogan RSS. And RSS was formed since under Dame Eugenia Charles, with the advent of the coup in Grenada, attempted coup in St. Vincent, attempted coup here in Dominica, and Miss Charles came into office. And there was apprehension about the stability of the region and the fact
You also
that
had
people
an
could
event
just
in Trinidad as well,
right,
with the
that
invasion of
people
Parliament.
could just take over government by force of arms and so on. So because of that apprehension, the leaders at the time, all the prime ministers in the various countries, St. Lucia, Dominica, St. Vincent, and well, except for Grenada at the time, decided that what if this were us, what would we do? And so the idea of a regional security force or system was born, so that when the regional security system really came out of what is sometimes famously referred to as the intervention in Grenada, Miss Charles got even the president, Mr. Reagan at the time, to assist the other islands in coming together, and from that was born the regional security system. At the time, initially, you recall, prior to all of us becoming independent, many of the islands, although very small, had little armed forces. We referred to them as, in the case of Dominica, we referred to it as the Dominica Defense Force. So many of the OACS islands had similar forces. At the moment, only Antigua and St. Kitts from the OACS islands still have defense forces.
And I know you could speak for hours.
All
about
of the
that.
others have just police forces, yes. So that is how it was formed. And and apart from disaster response, we did, because I was the director of training, we did a lot of development of capacity building within our police forces. So there were courses that would address the leadership and other technical needs of
So
all of the police forces.
You think the RSS fulfilled its mission, or how
Yes,
well do you think
it did.
RSS fulfilled
Very,
its
very,
mission
very,
after
very well.
Maria?
Because after Maria, that was definitely what the RSS is very good at, mobilizing and responding. And RSS did that really very well. Barbados is a member of the RSS. So the Barbados Defense Force being here assisting, that was RSS.
Were they the first to arrive?
They were among the first to arrive. There is a debate about whether they arrived before the Trinidadians or whoever, but yes. So that is one of the things RSS does. And that was the whole idea, that if something happens and that you're unable to manage on your own, that we can come in and support your local law enforcement in, you know, overcoming whatever or dealing with this particular situation.
Well, kudos to you and all the good work that you did in training with the RSS. You know, we're going to talk about Wesley High School a little bit, where you were nurtured, and
Yes.
I asked you to choose a verse. You want to share it with us?
Oh, it's from Galatians. And it speaks about the fruits of the Spirit, but the fruits of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, goodness, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And the verse ends, against these there is no law.
What does that mean to you?
Means a lot to me. You just walk around Dominica from day to day and you wonder what guides people, what motivates them. You come across so many people who are angry. You come across so many people who, and it's not necessarily being judgmental, but you think that people are just on a path to destruction. The way they think, the things they say, the things they do. And I'm talking about not, sometimes we like to say it's young people doing these things, mature individuals that you think should know better. And you wonder what guides them. And so to me, this particular verse of scripture is like a context from which we can operate. If we're guided by the Holy Spirit, the good spirit, not the evil spirit, not the spirit of evil, not the spirit of darkness. If we are guided by the Spirit, just the way we generally operate, all of these fruits should be evident in our lives. All the fruits, the love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness. And if each and every one of us, and one of my other favorite verses of scripture is about doing unto others as you'd like them to do unto you. I say if each and every one of us were guided by some of these principles, then we won't even need a law to say, you shall not do this, thou shalt not do this, and thou shalt not do that. You just need to be guided by the spirit of good, you know, the
You
spirit
graduated
of
from
God.
Wesley High School about what time?
1974.
And I taught at Wesley High School from 1975 to
Okay.
1977. She talked about people telling her she should check out the police because of she was
My
tall
height,
and
yes,
the stature.
yes.
And I remember her as a young chick. You know, she was just that stature was very impressive,
Yes.
and it still is. You know, but we're going to take a break and come back, and we'll talk about the things that she's doing right now.
Right.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
Sweet talk, dear man, never lot of that. Yes, I. You don't know it's your boy Trilogy, urging everybody, young and old, to stay strong and stay healthy. You don't know we're doing it for 2018. Boom.
Hey, give thanks for life. Give thanks for life. Oh, chimney, chimney. Today my rise like the sunrise, my bright and my upright. No one can block my vibes.
I love listening to Strong and Healthy with Dr. Sam. I really learn a lot.
Hi, we are right back, and we've talked about the very distinguished and stellar police career of Yvonne Alexander here with us today. And you know, there's a deeper part to her. You know, I was going to choose a scripture about the watchman on the wall, and if he doesn't sound the warning and all those things. And she came off with something that was a lot gentler. And your calling right now is?
I'm currently in the position at the Bishop's office called the Director of Stewardship and Development. And that, in a nutshell, is about the first of the church is to have its congregation, or the people of God, become much more aware of themselves and their roles as stewards, which is what we are on this earth. From Genesis, we learn about the creation of the earth, before the creation of man. After the earth was created, God created man. And right there and then, he gave us the role of taking care of the earth and taking care of each other.
You need to tell that to the
Eve take care of Adam, Adam take care of Eve, you know, you're a helpmate for him, and so on, right? And the breath that we have was the breath that he breathed into us. We were just formed from the dust of the earth. We only became living souls because the Lord, the Creator, who made us in his image and in his likeness, breathed his breath into us. And that's what brought us to life. Yes. So yes, we were born of a man and a woman, but all along the Creator always had that divine plan for our lives. Some of us probably live in such a way that we never discover what that plan is. But this is what it is. None of us are here accidentally. We were planned and designed by the Creator. He has you right where you are, exactly where he wants you to accomplish your purpose and his on earth.
So are you saying that the Creator had a purpose for you to be wearing this shirt?
Today, yes.
Tell us about it.
Interesting. This shirt is one of our latest designs from the Dominica Cancer Society. Currently, I'm the president of the Dominica Cancer Society. And it has to do with...
You're a leadership kind of person in everything you
I
do.
suppose, and again, it has to do with to God be the glory.
Yes.
I think he places me in positions. I think I can tell you off the bat that in 2015, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And when I broke the news to my children, my youngest daughter, after we all got very emotional and everything, called me. They live in the US. I was working in Barbados at the time. She called me and she said, "Mommy, I think this has to do with where the Creator wants to put you next and what he wants you to do." Just and I told her, you know, I got a very similar insight. So yes, it just is what it is. Sometimes we go through challenges in life, and initially our response is one of, oh my God, why me, and all of that. But on reflection, some of these challenges strengthen us. They embolden us, depending on what the challenge is. They make us better individuals. They refine us. They make us much more spiritual, depending on what the challenge is. Most of them are supposed to build you up, grow you, and so on.
But
and
before
so,
we go further into the Dominica Cancer Society, I'm going to ask if I could take your blood pressure.
By all means.
And of course, you were alert, as always, ever vigilant to tell me, not on that arm.
On this arm.
So explain why.
Because I had a mastectomy on the left breast. And so it is recommended that you avoid putting too much pressure or anything on it. So I use this arm. That's the recommended medical policy to do anything. You need to have my blood drawn. I'll tell you, try this arm instead, the right one.
That's right.
Because of that, yes, because I had surgery on the left breast.
One of our viewers mentioned, what is it that you doctors do with this thing? Well, there's a band there that we inflate, of course. You see us pump this bladder thing, and we tighten it, and then we untighten it, we loosen it up slowly, and the needle, if you can almost see it, begins to come down, and it shuts off the blood flow to the arm. And so as we lower the blood pressure lower on that, then we are listening for when we first hear the heartbeat in the arm, boop, 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 in the arm, and that represents the top number. So the normal blood pressure, for example, is 120/80. So we see that top number, we listen to it and make a mental note, and then we listen to when that sound goes away. and that becomes a lower number.
The lower number.
So that's what we're going to do right now.
Interesting.
She's relaxed. We tell patients not to cross their legs or to talk, and there we go. And wow, talk about the peace that passes all understanding. No, pressure doesn't really have to do with that, but hers is perfect. Actually, 124/78 is what I'm getting, right about that 120/80 score.
All right.
So congratulations, officer.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
the mastectomy situation, I know you don't want to get into too much detail about it, but it was not an easy path or straightforward thing. You had some hiccups here and there.
Yeah, well, once the diagnosis was done, I think everything went okay.
Certainly,
but prior to that, that is why I am here wearing this t-shirt to encourage women to do your breast self-examination. Get screened, because like at the back of my t-shirt is written, early detection saves lives. It really does. In my case, it was in 2013 that I felt the lump. I felt a lump. I brought it to the attention of my medical doctor, went for a checkup, and the individual didn't think that there was anything wrong with this lump. But I was doing my self-breast examination, so I knew my body and I knew that lump felt different. A whole year passed, so 2014. By that time, I've taken up the position in Barbados. The lump is still there. So I go to the Barbados Cancer Society and I told them I came to get a mammogram. In 2013 also, I did the mammogram and it did not show up. The lump didn't show up on the mammogram. So 2014 Barbados, I did the mammogram, the lump doesn't show up either. And so, okay, it's nothing because it's not showing up on the mammogram, and they also did an ultrasound, it's not showing up on the ultrasound, so you're okay. So I go. 2015, the lump is still there, and by that time, my gut feeling is, go get this lump removed. I remember coming to Dominica to attend, it was a Catholic big confirmation celebration at the Gardens, and I was a godmother for one of the children. And I said, you know, while I'm here, let me just do a local medical, because I'm here and, you know, let me just do. So I again did a complete medical, and I'm saying to the doctor, you know, that lump of since 2014, I am still feeling it, and I feel I need to have it addressed. I think I'm going to get them to remove it when I go back to Barbados. And the individual said to me, nobody's going to just remove a lump if there's no need to. So probably let them do the mammogram again. And so I did. Went back to Barbados, they did the mammogram again in 2015. Still didn't show up. Did the ultrasound in 2015. Still didn't show up. And thankfully, the individual who was doing the ultrasound is a Dr. Jolly. He's Dominican. He recognized me. I recognized him. I said hi. I said, I know you're telling me it's not showing up, but something is telling me to have this lump removed. Would you be able to recommend a surgeon that I could go to have it surgically removed? And he said, yes. And he referred me to the surgeon who incidentally was the one who diagnosed and eventually did the surgery. And only then was a biopsy done. 2015, like 2 years after I had felt this lump for the first time. By that time, I was stage 2.
Meaning what?
Meaning stage 2 is not so bad. It's still very early detection. It's 2A because there is 2B, 2C. 2 means there is a lump, and the lump is cancerous, but the lump had, there was another something forming in one of my lymph nodes. So that brought me to stage 2. But the lump was very small, whatever centimeter that would have just been stage 1, had it been addressed probably in 2013 or 2014. And probably no need for the mastectomy. By then, I felt I wanted the mastectomy because I didn't want to
and of course, the mastectomy means
complete removal of the breast.
And
yes.
the lymph nodes.
And the lymph node. Yes. So the particular
Under
lymph
the
node
arm,
and a few other lymph nodes under the arm. Thankfully, it was done by a surgeon who was really very skilled in what he did. And so I really feel very comfortable to the point where when all the biopsies and everything was done after surgery, the oncology, the surgeon didn't agree with the oncologist. He referred me to an oncologist who did not recommend chemo. And I was so happy because something in my spirit was also telling me, say no to chemo. Because there are healthier ways in which you can, because what it would be, whatever chemo and anything else would have been, there's a term they use, adjuvant therapy, which is like preventive more.
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm concerned, the surgery addressed the initial issue. So anything else is to prevent, because there is something I was reading about the fact that it's just the cells in the bodies that go haywire and form. It may be as a result of lifestyle, but it may also, and part of the lifestyle, many people think that you're diagnosed with cancer because you don't eat properly, you don't exercise, you don't this. That is the strangest thing from the truth in as far as I'm concerned. Because my children were shocked because they said, Mommy, you're the healthiest person I know. You don't eat this, you don't eat that, you're always exercising, you're always doing.
History.
And the family history is my mother's cousin, who would have been my second cousin, and her daughter. These are the only two, breast cancer, yes, and they have since succumbed. Again, late detection. Again, early detection, the need for individuals to do this self-breast examination. In the case of cervical cancer, which are the two leading cancers affecting women in Dominica, just do a pap smear. Just do a pap smear. It is not painful. And do your self-breast examination. And do a mammogram if you feel something that feels unusual. But get to know your breast so well that, like me, you can actually say to the healthcare professional, this is different. This is different. I know what you're saying, that it's not showing up on the mammogram, but I know, I feel it in my spirit that this is different. And I was the one who insisted on going back and back and back. And to say the truth, I was a little disappointed because I felt that since we had growing incidence of breast cancer in the region generally, that any woman who presents herself with a lump should be taken seriously. And if there's no harm to doing a biopsy, just do a biopsy.
Yeah,
just do a biopsy.
I want to emphasize what you just said. The three things are the breast self-examination. Yes. The mammogram. Yes. And the physical examination by a skilled professional,
right,
whether a nurse practitioner or a doctor. And you know, we say that so often. Sometimes I feel like a stock record. Some young people don't know what a record is. Yes. But a record is something that's spun, and sometimes the needle would stick and
it goes through the same.
Repeating. Yes. So we repeat those things, but still, in fact, you know, there was a shocking news item that Dominica is third in the world for cancer deaths.
Cancer deaths, yes.
We talked about that.
I saw that and I said I would not think that it is not true or it is not factual.
Right.
I would say to confirm it with the Ministry of Health, but I don't necessarily believe that it is not factual information, simply because from my own personal knowledge of the number, and very many of the deaths are, a few of them are individuals who may have been diagnosed many years ago. And another problem we have is once an individual has been diagnosed and you go through this regime of treatment, we are very strict with our diet, with the exercising, drink the water, sleep, take care of yourself, try to reduce the stresses in your life and so on. We do that very well. And then we survive 2 years, 3 years, and we feel everything is okay. And we go back to our old lifestyles of particularly in relation to nutrition, the things that we eat, the things that we drink, you know. But I said, I know a lot of people speak about in terms of lifestyle, but I think environmentally we need to probably some studies. What is causing this very high incidence? Well, in terms of, for us, it's death, and very many of these deaths is because of late detection. Late detection,
and late detection is because, you know, some people have just messed up ideas still. I think that the majority of my patients, it would seem to me today, talking from personal, what we call anecdotal evidence, have more weird ideas than they did when I was growing up. I mean, I've come across women who would say, for example, oh, I don't want a woman to do my pap smear. I mean, in this day and age,
Really?
come on, you know?
Really?
I don't want a woman to touch me down.
Oh, but then there are men. There are doctors who do pap smears, number one. Number two, I mean, it really isn't about who. These are healthcare professionals. There must be somebody you know and feel comfortable with that you can
Well, they
do.
use that as
I
an excuse.
personally prefer the female doctors to do my pap smears. That's just me. If you prefer a male, then there are males who can do pap smears. But do not use that as an excuse.
Right.
It just is not right. And in relation to cervical cancer and pap smears, from the time a woman is sexually active, you should begin having pap smears.
Yes, indeed.
Almost annually or every other year or so. You should begin. And women become sexually active and never present themselves at any doctor healthcare unless they are sick or pregnant. You really, and sick meaning you really have to have symptoms that are not going away. You feel really very bad. So, but we are not, our culture, we are not in the habit of doing just annual medical checks. And these are available at the local health centers.
Free of
Just
charge.
an annual medical check.
And you know,
Yes.
in the United States, I did a lot of breast biopsies, a lot of mastectomies. And patients come to me here and request my services, of course. I was good enough for the U.S. Army, but it's a different story here. But I will tell you two stories. One, I had two ladies came to my office, the white women in Ohio, and I really thought they were sisters. But it was a mother and daughter. And of course, American women get very excited when you tell them they look very young, and she was just, ooh. But anyway, the bottom line, she came with her daughter because her daughter was reluctant to have a biopsy of her mammogram that said it was a suspicious lump. Okay, much more straightforward case than yours. We gently spoke to her, persuaded her. The daughter had the biopsy, the breast lump removed, it was cancerous. I sent her to the oncologist. End of story. Well, not quite. 1 year later, the mother comes in.
Wow.
And from the moment the mother stepped into my office, it was deja vu. Yes, she had a lump. So there was no argument, let's get it out. And sure enough, it was breast cancer. Now, that's the only case that I've come across where the daughter got the cancer before the mother. Most of the times it's the other way around. And that's why it is so important for medical professionals to get that good family history as to the presence of any kind of cancer in the family, but specifically cancer related to what we're talking about. I have another story which I would mention here because it was a 23-year-old female who had a suspicious pap smear. In fact, it was cervical cancer, and her gynecologist, a female gynecologist, recommended a hysterectomy. She spoke to her mother about it. Her mother says, well, she wants to have grandchildren. It was her only daughter, and advised her not to. The pastor also came, and the pastor prayed for her and so forth, and told her not to claim this cancer. Well, she refused to have the hysterectomy, and then the cancer spread. Then she came, she was having pain all over the place. Then she came to have the hysterectomy. Well, of course, it's too late.
It's too late, yes.
She was 23 when she was diagnosed.
Yes,
and she passed away at age 26.
And Dr. Christian, she again was 23 and passed away at age 26. But there are a few that I know that died within months of being diagnosed. What that means is by the time they are diagnosed, the cancer is in an advanced stage. I was called to speak to someone around, would have been around October, November last year, going into surgery, and by around February or March, I attended her funeral. And she's not the only one, there are a few others. It is the late detection. At the very least, there are some things we have no control over. For the things that we can control, do a breast self-examination. Get a mammogram if you have to. If you're not comfortable with your own breast self-examination, get a healthcare professional to do it for you. They have a sense of what they're feeling for. if you're not. But if you get into the habit of doing it, even in the shower, even before you fall asleep at night, at the same time every month, at the same time every month.
At the same time every month?
Because it has to do with your hormones, hormonal balance, and lumps forming. Normally, if somebody is going to have their menstrual cycle,
so that's
their period,
especially for people
childbearing age. You know, at the same time every month, so that you know, you can almost observe a pattern, get to know it. The pap smear, you can have it done and it costs you nothing from one of the health centers. You must be able to find whether it's the doctor or one of the senior nurses. And recently, the Dominica Cancer Society had a number of nurses trained in cervical cancer screening. So we know there are new people with new methods and understand the whole idea of the bedside manner and helping you to feel comfortable and helping you to understand why this is being used, whatever is being used, and so on. And you know, I'm just going to do this, and how they do this, what is referred to as the swab, to get the thing and have it analyzed at the lab. The Cancer Society is actually willing to assist in meeting the cost of whatever it is it costs to have the smear analyzed. But just get it done. Get it done. It really does not make sense for you to be just in your early 30s and has early 20s or early 30s, has never been to the doctor because you never became pregnant, you know, and when you present yourself and you're asked, when was the last time you went to a doctor? 10 years ago. And by that time you're in an advanced stage. This is preventable. It's not preventable, but it's early detection.
Yes, the patient
it can be
says,
early, detected early.
They would say, yes, knock on wood. That means, you know, I'm so lucky.
I'm so lucky.
But the fact of the matter, when at that time the
right.
cancer is discovered, it's usually in an advanced stage. It's great. You know, we have a lot of what happens to us is luck, that we are born healthy, you know,
right.
that our mother wasn't drinking or on drugs, you know, that they were able to take care of us and feed us and change our diapers and all that stuff. So it's luck. It's nothing that we did. But then again, the things that we do to prevent cancer, when cancer strikes, right. then we have to get over that denial stage and do right. what we have to do. Now, the Cancer Society, in yes. closing, we could talk for a while about
yes.
this, but what other specific services you offer to your...
So the Cancer Society has 3 main areas of focus. Number 1, we mobilize financial resources, because I would make a claim to say, anecdotal like you, that I am very sure over 80% of the Dominican population do not have health insurance. Could very easily be based on the numbers that come to us seeking financial assistance after they've been diagnosed. So we mobilize financial resources. We do our own little fundraisers. We maybe donor funding. Some people make contributions to the Cancer Society. And of course, there's the assistance provided through the Ministry of Health. So we work in close collaboration with the Ministry of Health to assist individuals in seeking care and in meeting the cost of care. Many of the services that are required, a few of them are available locally. Some people opt to go overseas to get their treatment. One of the main treatments that is not available locally is radiation. Because it's not available locally, we have an arrangement with the cancer center in Guyana. There's also a cancer center in Antigua. Some people go to the cancer center in Barbados. Different places where you can get that type of treatment within the region. So we can assist. We can't meet all the cost because there are so many needs, but we assist as best we can. Our second area of focus is advocacy, education and advocacy. We try to do that as much as we can. With the advent of Maria, it placed a damper on, you know, the thrust that we were going with when we had just gotten elected. This board was elected in May last year, but AGM is really due in September. So we try our best to do as much public education and sensitization as we can. And then the third area of focus is what we refer to as the psychosocial support. Cancer diagnosis can be a very fearful experience, for want of a better word, for anyone.
Devastating.
And devastating. And there is nothing more, I think, comforting than speaking to someone who has been there. So I recall after my diagnosis and so on, I remember calling somebody and speaking to them about it and saying, but I didn't even feel like telling my children. And the person encouraged me, you know, you have to tell the children, you can't go through this alone and so on. And within a week of the diagnosis, I had surgery, and my children joined me in Barbados and so on. But what I remember very clearly is the morning after my surgery, this person who came to my room with a package, an envelope with stuff in it, it was a support group in Barbados. Two support groups, one called Bosom Pals and another one, and told me where they were meeting and all of that. And when I went to that first meeting around 2 or 3 Saturdays after, you know, recovered my strength and was able to leave the house and so on. I mean, it was because although I did the surgery and I'm feeling, okay, you know, you're going to beat this. To me, it was so comforting when I sat in that first meeting and there was this lady saying, my name is ABC and I'm a 25-year survivor. Wow. You know, it's like, wow, you know, and then everybody introduced themselves that way. So that you know there is living proof that people do survive this. There is living proof that people do survive this. So we do some psychosocial support. We will be there. We volunteer at the oncology clinic. So my volunteer day is a Wednesday, which I am off from working at the bishop's office. And we are just there speaking to the individuals who come in for either their routine checkups or for treatment, because we do chemo here and so on. And just encouraging, just letting them know that we are there. Encouraging some of them to become members of the support group. So we have a support group. It's just a Roseau support group. What we would like to do is see this support group extended further afield, probably have a support group in the north and so on. Because what the support group does, it meets once a month and we just support each other. We are not there crying on each other's shoulder. We bring in resource people to speak about whether it's the medication you're taking and whatever, of your need to exercise and so on, of your nutrition, you know, the need for healthy balance between everything you're eating and everything that's going on. And just generally sharing this rapport and comfort with each other. So we do things together. We have get-togethers. They would be the ones mobilizing for something we had recently, our annual movie night. It's a fundraiser. The Walk for Cancer Care. You know, all of these are ways in which we, we mobilize and we raise funds, you know, and all of that.
And it's not just for breast cancer, it's for
all cancers, all cancers, yes, yes.
We have
so,
a lot of resistance.
We have a lot of members who are colon, cervical, any kind of cancer. Prostate cancer, the men are not always coming out, but we do have a few men who are members of the Cancer Society, yes. Wow. And so the support group and the survivors, as we refer to ourselves. So we don't want people to see us and immediately think that we are ill because we have cancer. As far as my oncologist is concerned, I'm in remission. And remission is the term that is used to say, after how many years of screening and so on, post-surgery, you're coming up clean. Everything appears to be okay. So you don't look at me and think, oh, she has cancer. Because we're not necessarily just walking around with cancer or being ill. We were diagnosed, we got treatment, and we prefer to refer to ourselves or to be referred to as a survivor. We are surviving cancer. Okay? And to really encourage people not to leave anything to chance. Anybody can get cancer. It's no respecter of persons, whether it's by age or ethnicity or, you know, income bracket or anything. Don't leave anything to chance. That the need for us to take responsibility for our health, you know, the need for us to really take responsibility for ourselves, you know, for this life that the Creator has given to us, and do it the best we can. We seem to have so much time for everything else except once a year, probably at most, just do an annual medical checkup. Some insurance companies even pay for that. Yes. But you owe it to yourself to do that, even if you have to pay for it. Just go do, tell them check. I just used to go and say, check for everything. Check my cholesterol level, check my blood sugar, check this, check that. And the reason that I got into a regime of always having annual medicals is because I have a family history now of diabetes. And I was determined that I would be the only one without diabetes.
Amen.
From my grandmother, my mother, my grandfather, my mother's brother, my brother. I have a brother who died in his early 50s from diabetes complications, and I have 2 other siblings. And a brother who is older than me and a sister older than me. Both of them are at some stage of diabetes. And I decided. So you will understand that for me, my diagnosis may not necessarily have had anything to do with my eating habits and trying to keep healthy and all of that. And I think more to do with environmental stress is one of the main issues.
Yes, and I think you were saying your blood pressure after Hurricane Maria was up.
Extremely high.
And mine as well.
Yes, extremely high. That was the highest reading I ever had. And to the point where the nurse who took it told me, Miss Alexander, I'm very concerned this is, and I told her it's about everything. It's about not getting the things that I normally eat to eat. It's about, you know,
but you have your backyard
trying
garden
to,
now.
right. So my backyard is cleared, my garden is growing again. I can just walk outdoors every day and eat from what I grow in my backyard.
Up in Warner.
Up in Warner.
Yes.
It's more than just a backyard, you know. It's like a garden.
Yes,
it's about an acre of land. So it's like big time organic farming. And my son loves the earth. He works a full-time job with the government, but he likes farming, and I'm so grateful to have him. At least he lives in my ground floor apartment so that he tends the garden.
Yes, but this report of Dominica being number 3 in the world, we don't want our friends and family overseas to think, you know, they're coming to a cancer-infested country, and what is it in the air and the water that is, you know, causing these people to get cancer. It was about cancer deaths. So it's about the people who are diagnosed with cancer, and why are they not surviving?
The deaths. And people need to understand that the report is about people dying from cancer. And you die from cancer either because you didn't get the appropriate treatment, which is not necessarily always the case, but sometimes is the case, because there are some individuals who do not have the means and probably are unaware that there is a Dominica Cancer Society that can assist, that can support. So because cancer treatment is expensive, thousands of dollars for the average treatment, whether it's surgery, whether it's the chemo, the radiation, very expensive, very expensive. So many people may just sit and do nothing, and obviously you become worse. But again, it has to do with the deaths are preventable.
Very much so.
Early detection. Early detection. If you're detected early, you can be treated and survive this.
And also chemotherapy is rough, but when it is indicated is very important. Because for instance, if there are roaches in your house and you buy a bottle of can of whatever, Baygon, and you spray and you see
dead roaches around the place,
you know, that's fine. But there are others in the cracks, and sometimes you know, you would put off what they call a bomb, or get the professionals to come in, and it would flush them out from every nook and cranny in the house.
Yes.
So that's the whole concept of the adjuvant therapy, whether it's chemotherapy or radiation. So we need to have there's nothing in the air or in the water in Dominica causing people to get cancer as such. Although the discussion about gramoxone and about sewage,
but
well, that's another discussion about the environment, a very important discussion.
But I think
the most important thing, I think, is what's
some of the environmental factors
are
to be considered.
Yes, nutrition.
Some of the environmental factors have to be considered.
What do you have in mind
and
about that?
Part of the environmental factors is really and truly our water treatment. I mean, and I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying I think we need to know. I think we need to know whether it is, because there are studies showing that high levels of chlorine can contribute. Then we have all these additives that we put in our foods from off the supermarket shelves that we really don't need, because we come from a background where we grew our own herbs to make our foods tasty. Our chive, celery, parsley, thyme, you name it. All we used was the salt and all of these herbs. Can we go back to that? Because these are available on the market. And then there is also the way that some of our foods are grown. Because everybody wants to mass produce, we do use a lot of chemical fertilizers that we should try to avoid in a place like here in Dominica, where we have an abundance of flora fauna. You can compost.
Yes.
Half of the waste that you throw out of your kitchen can be something that somebody can collect and give it back to the farmers. As you know, we had Maria, and there were so many trees, and you know, a lot of all of these just being there is a machine that you can put them through and so on, and leave them to, you know, we do some composting in our backyard. Composting in our backyard, plus in the Warner community there's a young farmer who also rears poultry, so we get from him. We get the poultry droppings and our own composting in our backyard.
Oh,
so we
very
very interesting.
Run out of time a little bit, but I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you for taking the time to come and to share this very important message with all of Dominica, friends of Dominica, at home and abroad, and sharing your story, the strength and the persistence and the insight that you've had. And God has blessed you, given you all these amazing leadership qualities.
He has.
Use those leadership qualities to mobilize not only the Cancer Society, but the entire population, so we can be strong and healthy.
Definitely.
And have that abundant life.
And I'm very happy to be part of this process. Yes, because, I mean, if you're healthy, everything else will fall into place.
Show me that strength. Strong and healthy. Thank you for joining us, and let's give thanks and praise.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thank God. Yes. All right. Thank you for having
me. Hey, give thanks for life. Give thanks for life. Chimney, chimney, today my rise like the sunrise, my bright and my upright. No one can break my fight.